Welcome to our today's hybrid event, Digital Marketing for Industrial Products. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Lisa Lu. I am the IP Business Advisor from China IP SME Help Desk. Just a few words about our project. As one of the European EU-funded projects, we provide free initial business-focused advice to European Union SMEs when they plan or when they already in China market. And we also try to raise the awareness of the IP because according to the data, there are 90% of the job positions in Europe is from the SMEs. However, 80% of those SMEs have no clue what IP can work in their daily life. Therefore, it's our job to raise their awareness, especially when they come to China. The Chinese system is not exactly the same as the European one. And we are training them, we are making sure they can make the right or proper IP decisions when coming to China. And so far, we already assisted more than 100,000 SMEs coming to China. Yeah, that's a very impressive data. I agree with you. The services we provide covered not only mainland China, also Hong Kong, Macau, and Taiwan. And we provide workshops, webinars like where we are now. And we also provide one-on-one consultation. That means the companies can come to us, come to me specifically, and talk through the business and also any IP-related questions. And the quickest way to find us is to write to our email or call the hotline. I will reply to anyone within 3 working days. We make sure all the information companies share with us is confidential. You can also download self-learning materials from our website or use different IP tool to learn, like IP cost or diagnose your business and make sure which IP types is of your core relevance IP. And all of our services are free of charge. We are part of the international IP help desk family. The other help desks include Europe and Latin America, Africa, Southeast Asia, and India. And we are all free of charge services. And before joining help desk, I used to work in different law firms and with different size of companies around the world. Before going into today's topics, I will give you a few structure of what we are going to talk about. First, it's what type of IP we should consider when the business is on online markets. It's actually very similar with the traditional one, either offline or online. You should follow the same IP structure and IP system in China. And for online markets, one specific topic is how to avoid counterfeit or how to avoid online infringement. It's more tricky than offline markets. So I will talk about how to do the market surveillance or market monitor. And we'll also talk about the remedies for the infringement. There are 3 very important basic principles of China IP system you should keep in mind. First is registration. So for trademark, for patent, without registration, you don't have the full protection. That means if a company only submits an IP in China, specifically trademark and patent, they do not have the protection in China. You have to wait for the registration. That means if you plan to come to China market, you should leave yourself enough time. For trademark, at least 6 months. For patent, it's even longer, could be as long as 5 years to protect it before coming. Second, IP is territorial rights. That means if you have European IP, that doesn't mean you have the protection in China. You still need to go through a separate procedure to get the protection in China. The last one is first to file. Especially if you already plan to expose your contents in Chinese social media. You should be careful that you have the IP protection. Otherwise, someone else may register your IP, and then you will lose your assets. There's still ways to get it back, but it will cost you a large amount of extra budget. And this is the IP types you should consider in China. You can see it's very similar with European IP types, but they are still a little bit different. So for the most common one is trademark. It protects the brand name and brand logo, your company name, or the product's name. And you should consider to register or come out with a brand name in Chinese. Like Jonathan already mentioned, Chinese is very important when you come to the local markets. When you consider the video, you should consider the Chinese subscription or Chinese voiceover. It's the same when you consider your brand name, your trademark, consider the Chinese one. It will be much easier for the customers here to accept it. And for patent, there are 3 types of patent, different patents from protect different technology. And for the new solution, consider the invention patent, making sure that when you already decide to apply for the patent, making sure it's not exposed or it's not known to the market. Otherwise, you may not be able to patent your technology. And for the physical products, like the machine or like electronic products, if it has the functional shape, consider using the utility model. And of course, if you have an aesthetic design of the products, consider the design pattern. I will give you a concrete example of the to show the difference of 3 different patterns. And if you decide a video like campaign videos, of course, you will automatically order of copyright. You don't need to register it. But in China, there's still a registration system that will be very helpful for you to enforce your rights if someone else in the social media copy your video or the other campaign materials. And for trade secret, it's essential if you have not patented your technology. So make a draft NDA when you work with the Chinese partners. And when you share the technical information with your partners, especially like in the trade fairs, have a very specific training or to your employees, making sure those information they share is proper. It does not leak any of your trade secrets. And for trademark, there are 2 different routes to register trademarks. Everyone cares about the budget. The budget's not as high as you thought, especially for trademark. If everything goes smoothly, of course, it will be only like 400 euros to get a trademark registered in China. And the government only charge 40 euros for 1 trademark. Because you are a European company, you do not have the Chinese entity in China, everything has to be done by a local attorney. So you should also consider the attorney fees. And except for the filing with the Chinese authority directly, you can also consider the international routes that will give you the protections covering multiple jurisdictions, including Europe, US, Japan, South Korea, and of course, China. And you don't need to hire a local attorney. You can do it yourself. But it will take longer time, as long as 18 months or even longer to have the trademark registered in China. Again, the trademark in Chinese is important. How to come out with it? You can ask the professional to give you some candidates, but generally you should choose the trademark in Chinese according to the pronunciation of the original mark or the literal translation of the original mark, but making sure it's easy to remember. If it's difficult or you choose the very rare Chinese character, it doesn't make sense for you to come out with the trademarks in Chinese anymore because the customers cannot recognize it. And for the patents, patents a bit more complicated than trademarks because there are 3 types of it. And you mentioned patent, it will provide the strongest protection to your technology and products. The protection term is longer as well, it's 20 years. But to get the registration, it takes the official fees itself alone, it's already more than 400 euros. And the attorney fees, it's depending on how complicated your technology is, but it's expensive. and it takes time. Generally speaking, it takes 3 to 5 years to get an invention patent registered in China. The other two patents, it takes less time to get it done. It's around 6 months or even less, because it doesn't go through the substantive examination with the Chinese government. But the protection term is short as well. Utility model is only 10 years. Design patent is 15 years. Just take a storage battery as an example. You can tell what's the difference between those 3 patents and which one you can choose from. For this battery, if it has the new management system that allows the battery to work more efficiently, that's the new solution. You can consider to patent it as invention patent. If its structure can reduce the temperature, it's the functional design, then you can consider the utility window. If the shape of the battery is very unique and you want to protect it, then it's the design patent. One thing I want to go into details is the patent evaluation report, because a lot of company will think if I have my IP registered, everything is done, and I have the protection in China. If I find someone provides the sell these counterfeits in social media or in e-commerce platform, I can use my registration certificate to fight against them. It's not true, especially for the utility model and design patent, because it does not go through the substantive examination. That means the authority only check the formality. So even you have the registration certificate, it does not mean you can enforce your rights. You still need to apply for the patent evaluation report. This report, if the result is positive, that means you can enforce your rights and your right is stable. This is the key document that the online market service providers to evaluate whether or not they will support your claims when you have the IP infringement. For instance, if you are the right owner and you find someone who copy your design and you want to report to the service providers and take down this infringing link, then you should get the patent evaluation report as early as possible, even before you report to the service provider. And you want to have the positive results. On the other hand, if you receive a complaint with your competitor in China that's claim that you infringe their rights, infringe their design or utility models, then you should also get a patent evaluation report, but it's not to your IP, it's to theirs IP. And you want the result to be negative. That means they are not entitled to enforce their rights. That means your product did not infringe their rights. That is what PER means, patent evaluation report. They actually have a real case study of from European companies who try to enforce their rights in China using the patent evaluation report. This company is a Belgian company. They provide medical device. And right after they finished the development of their new ecological dental instrument, they patented as design patents in China. And very soon after they register their design patent in one of the e-commerce platforms, they identified someone already sold infringing products. And the SMEs contact the e-commerce platform and ask them to take down the link. However, the platform informed the SME that we are aware that you already registered your patent in design patent, but you don't have the patent evaluation report. We are not sure whether or not we can help you to enforce your rights in China. And the SMEs have to contact their lawyer again. It takes them 2.5 months to get the patent evaluation report. It's a very short term. However, that gives the Chinese competitor 2.5 months to sell online. That's a loss for the SMEs. But eventually, with the patent evaluation report and the registration certificate, the SME successfully take down the infringing link, and they still monitor that platform and that competitor to making sure they don't resell the products again. From this case, it's you can see that this company already protect their IP before entering the China market, which is great. And also with the China local attorney, they managed to notice and start the notice and take down procedure in e-commerce platforms. And they managed to monitor the platforms regularly, even though the platform itself is all in Chinese. Different from Europe, industrial design is protected by patents in China. That means you have to register it before you decide to protect your industrial design in China. It's not like in Europe. In Europe, once you finish the development or once you complete the design, you have the right automatically. That doesn't work in China. So you still need to go through the registration. And after the grant of industrial design patent, you should apply for the patent evaluation report as soon as possible. That would be very helpful for you to take down the infringing link from the online market. Also, if you decide to go to the court or get the Chinese authority involved, that report is very strong and very useful. And how to conduct the digital market monitor? First, I will highly recommend to communicating with the online service provider, because sometimes they already have a blacklist of the counterfeit sellers, or someone already received a lot of complaints from the right holder. And if you want to add your competitor or add someone who infringed your rights multiple times to the blacklist, you can tell the service provider. They will save you a lot of time from future monitor as well. And the service provider, they also conduct an authorization purchase. That means if you have doubts that one product is counterfeit, or the service providers suspect that product is counterfeit, they will initiate the authorization purchase without charging any fees from the rights holder. That's a good service rights holder or European SME should use. And also you should let the service provider know your brands well, so that they can tell which is counterfeit and which is the authentic products. And when you do the search to monitor the market, you can go to different platforms, of course, like the social media platforms, WeChat, Xiaohongshu, or TikTok, search engine, Baidu, Bing, or even Google, although Chinese don't use Google that much. And online more, of course, like the JD, Tmall, and any channel you can think about. And you can use different specific search keywords like trade name, trademark name, and infringing name, of course. AI search is also very helpful for the rights owner to do, because AI search is much faster than the manual search. So this is a tool you can consider to use. And when you try to identify the potential infringement, of course, it's all common sense, except for the last one. If someone sells the authentic products without your authorization, you have to check with the platforms, because it's not necessarily infringement. It might just be a contract issue instead. So talk with them to understand the platform's rules. Maybe they just simply ask you to provide some documents. For instance, like if you have any previous decision from the court or from the Chinese authority to prove that the seller is previously infringing your rights. That will be a strong evidence for the platform to support your claim. Lastly, it's what kind of option you can consider when you identify infringement in online markets. From left to right, it's from the weakest or from the most amicable to the strongest one. Like I already mentioned, for online market, you can consider to notice the service provider and take down the infringing link. You can also consider send a notification letter to the other party, to the person who you doubt they infringe your rights, but it's quite weak. Most of the time it doesn't work unless they didn't realize they infringe your rights. Or you can also hire a lawyer to send a cease and desist letter, which is stronger. And if there is any trademark or patent infringement, you are always allowed to file a petition to the Chinese authority, CNIPA. But for this remedy, you have to have patent or register or trademark register in China. Without that, you cannot. The chance to win the case is very low. You can always involve Chinese authorities, including the customs. They can seize the counterfeit products if you already register your trademark with them. You can also involve the administration for market regulation. They can rate the products and detain the products for you. And of course, the arbitration and mediation is another level to solve the conflicts. And most of the European companies, when they come to me for the IP infringement, the only remedy they can think of is the litigation. That's not true. As you can see, there are so many alternative methods to solve your IP infringement, and they cost less. Litigation can easily go with 10,000 euros and takes 3 to 5 years to solve that problem. It's a big loss for European SMEs. It's considerable, especially for the SMEs who have not been in the China market yet. And to build up a case for the SMEs, there's two things you should keep in mind that you are in China markets. First is the evidence collection. To preserve the evidence or to make sure you provide valid evidence in the court or with the Chinese authority, you have to provide a notarized evidence. Without it, the court might not admit the validity of the evidence. And you can also use the blockchain if it's like an online video copyright infringement. Use the blockchain yourself to preserve the evidence. It's free and it's fast. And for the online disputes, again, you can consider the internet courts, especially if you don't exist in China. That means you can attend the court and provide the evidence, receive the judgment, all online. And generally speaking, it takes less than a month for the internet court to give you to make the judgment. And again, this is the notice and takedown procedure. We already briefly go through it, but this is the whole procedure. So first of all, you should register the account even before you find out any IP infringement. And to register the account, you will have to upload your IP certificates like trademark or patent or copyright, and of course your business information. Once you've identified any IP infringement, you filled in the form and you notice the service provider. And within 3 to 7 working days, they will remove the link. It's free of charge unless you hire a local attorney to do it for you. But in one case, that's if the other parties, they do not agree with the infringement, they may submit the other statement or other evidence. In that case, you may have to bring this case either to the local authorities of market regulation or the courts. In that case, the e-commerce platforms is not able to handle this case. And to these documents, I already go through it. So if you want to start the notice and takedown procedure to take down this infringing link, you have to provide your business information and your IP certificates, provide the exact hyperlink of the infringing list, and also just prepare some basic of the complaint, like why do you think they infringe your rights? Prepare some comparison between your products and their products, or your video and their video. Lastly, provide some takeaway messages. First, audit your IP assets and obtain IP protection. And again, for trademark and patent, register it in China. Also, you should monitor the online markets regularly and proactively communicate with the service providers of online markets. collect and preserve the evidence before taking any enforcement actions. Evidence collection is so important and so easy to make mistakes that can ruin your case. Even you just want to start the notice and take down procedure, you should also keep in mind that to collect the evidence. Otherwise, you may miss the best timing to do it. And familiar yourself with the notice and takedown system. So when you identify any IP infringement, you can react quickly. Of course, you can always contact us by writing an email to us. And you can book a consultation with me. And we continue to provide free services. You can find us in different channels. Again, we are free of charge services.